I walked into my parents' house expecting a quiet dinner and maybe a quick hello. Instead, I froze at the doorway. Balloons hung from the ceiling. Champagne glasses clinked. A banner with Jason's name stretched across the wall. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was loud. Surprise! Aunt Carol shouted. For Jason, my mother said, beaming. I forced a smile and stepped inside. Hey, I said. No one heard me. Jason stood in the center, laughing. My father slapped his back. Promotion at 30, Dad said. That's how you do it. Couldn't have happened to a better guy, Aunt Carol added. Jason grinned. Hard work pays off. I nodded slowly and took a seat at the edge of the table. My hands felt stiff. I'd been promoted too. Same week. Bigger team. More responsibility. I told myself it was fine. I didn't need a banner. Mom raised her glass. We're so proud of you, Jason. Everyone clapped. I joined in, my palms barely touching. Dad looked at me. Ethan, see this? This is ambition. I swallowed. Yeah. Congrats, Jason. Thanks, man, Jason said. Maybe you'll get there someday. A few people laughed. I smiled again, thinner this time. Dinner started. Plates passed. Stories flowed. Jason talked about his office, his boss, his future. My parents listened like students. I waited for a pause. So, I said, work's been busy for me too. Mom nodded without looking. Pass the bread. I handed it over. I actually got promoted this week. Silence hit for half a second. Oh, Mom said. That's nice. Dad cleared his throat. Jason, tell them about the bonus. Jason leaned back. Yeah, it's not bad. My chest tightened. I stared at my plate. Aunt Carol leaned toward me. You'll catch up, she said softly, like comfort. Jason's always been driven. I laughed once. I am too. Dad frowned. Don't make this about you. I'm not, I said. Let's celebrate, Mom interrupted. Tonight is special. Jason lifted his glass again. To family. To Jason, Dad corrected. Everyone laughed. I didn't. I remembered being 16, showing Dad my first paycheck. He'd nodded and asked about Jason's grades. I remembered college acceptance letters, mine read quietly, Jason's announced loudly. I thought those things stopped hurting. I was wrong. Jason looked at me. You're quiet. I'm tired, I said. Work stress, he asked. Life, I said. Dad sighed. You always do this. Do what? I asked. Act overlooked, he said. You're fine. Mom finally met my eyes. You don't need attention, Ethan. You're strong. Strong. That word again. The excuse. I pushed my chair back slightly. I just wanted you to know. We know, Mom said quickly. Now eat. I nodded and picked at my food. The laughter rose again, louder than before. Jason told a joke. Dad laughed too hard. Mom wiped a proud tear. I felt invisible. As dessert came out, Dad stood. A speech. I looked up. Jason, Dad said, you make this family proud. Applause filled the room. I clapped once, then stopped. My hands rested in my lap. No one noticed. I realized then this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was normal. Jason shined. I stood in the shadow. Always had. I smiled as the clapping faded. Inside, something cracked. For the first time, it hurt enough that I couldn't pretend anymore. The noise kept going, but I stopped being part of it. Forks scraped plates. Glasses clinked. Jason laughed again, loud and easy, like this night belonged to him alone. I stared at the table, nodding when someone glanced my way, saying nothing because nothing seemed meant for me. So what's next? Dad asked Jason. Another promotion? Jason shrugged. Maybe. I'm thinking management. Mom smiled. That suits you. I swallowed. No one looked at me. Aunt Carol leaned closer to Jason. With that salary, you'll be moving soon. Probably, Jason said. Bigger place. Dad chuckled. That's success. I pushed peas around my plate. My mind drifted to other tables, other years. Birthdays where my cake came late. Graduations where my name was said once, quietly. I used to tell myself it didn't matter. Sitting there, it mattered. Ethan, Mom said suddenly. I looked up fast. Yeah. Can you pass the salt? I slid it over. Sure. She didn't say thank you. She turned back to Jason. Dad leaned back. Remember when Jason was little? Always knew what he wanted. I smiled weakly. I remembered being little too. No one ever asked what I wanted. Jason took a sip of champagne and glanced at me. His smile was small, knowing. He didn't need to say anything. The silence did it for him. I cleared my throat. Work's been intense lately. Good intense, Dad said, still facing Jason. Yeah, I said. I mean, I got promoted. Mom nodded once. That's good. Dad reached for his phone. Jason, did you send that email yet? Jason nodded. Already done. Conversation moved on like I'd never spoken. My promotion sat there, untouched, like a plate no one wanted. My ears rang. I felt stupid for expecting more. Aunt Carol laughed. This family loves winners. I flinched. Jason smirked, just barely. His eyes flicked to me, then away. I leaned back, arms crossed, shrinking into the chair. Every laugh felt sharp. Every pause felt louder than words. I stopped trying to join in. I watched instead. Mom talked about Jason's future wedding. Dad talked about investments. No one asked about my job, my plans, my life. I felt 12 years old again, standing in a hallway while adults talked past me. Eat, Ethan, Mom said. You barely touched your food. I'm not hungry, I said. Dad frowned. Don't sulk. I'm not, I said quietly. Jason chuckled. He's always like this. Dad nodded. Sensitive. That word hit harder than an insult. I pressed my lips together. If I spoke, I'd break. Dinner ended eventually. Plates were cleared. Laughter faded into tired smiles. I stood up slowly. I'm heading to my room, I said. Mom waved a hand. Okay. No one followed. No one asked why. Upstairs, I closed the door and leaned against it. The house still buzzed below. I replayed every sentence, every glance. The nod. The silence. The smirk. I sat on my bed and stared at the wall. I'd been chasing something that wasn't there. Approval. Pride. A simple question. How about you? I laughed softly, bitter. They don't see me, I whispered. For the first time, I let myself feel angry. Not loud. Not explosive. Slow, heavy anger. The kind that builds. I realized I'd been begging for validation from people who never planned to give it. I walked into the kitchen the next morning and found my parents already sitting at the table. Coffee steamed between them. The air felt tight, like they were waiting for something, or maybe avoiding it. Morning, I said. Mom nodded without looking up. Morning. Dad said nothing. I pulled out a chair and Saturday, we need to talk. Dad sighed. About what? About last night, I said. About Jason. Mom stirred her coffee too fast. Ethan, it was just a dinner. No, I said. It wasn't. Dad leaned back. You're overthinking it. I shook my head. Why does Jason always matter more? Silence dropped hard. That's not true, Mom said, still staring into her cup. Then explain it, I said. Explain why his promotion got balloons and mine got a nod. Dad rubbed his forehead. Jason needs encouragement. I laughed once sharp. And I don't. Mom finally looked at me. You're strong already. That sentence hit me like a slap. So that's it. I said. I don't get support because I survive without it? That's not what she meant, Dad said quickly. It is, I said. That's exactly what she meant. Mom's voice softened. We never worried about you. That's the problem, I said. You never worried. Dad frowned. You're being unfair. I'm being honest, I said. When have you ever asked about my goals? Dad opened his mouth, then closed it. Mom whispered, We're proud of you. You weren't last night, I said. Footsteps came from the hallway. Jason leaned against the doorframe, coffee in hand, smiling. Am I interrupting? He asked. Yes, I said. He chuckled. Relax. They're just proud. Of you, I said. Jason shrugged. I earned it. So did I said. He smirked. Sure. Dad stood. Jason, give us a minute. Jason raised his hands. Hey, I'm just saying. Some people don't need praise. I stared at him. You enjoy this. He smiled wider. Enjoy what? Mom stood too. Stop it. Both of you. I looked at her. Why don't you ever stop him? She looked away. Dad said, Jason didn't do anything wrong. That's the problem, I said. He never does. Jason took a sip. You're sensitive, man. That word again. I stood up fast. I'm done. Dad's voice hardened. Sit down. No, I said. I won't beg anymore. Mom's eyes filled. Ethan, don't walk away like this. I've been walking alone for years, I said. This is just the first time you noticed. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Running again, Jason muttered. I turned back. This isn't running. This is choosing myself. Outside, cold air hit my face. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and dialed Mark. Hey, he said. You okay? No, I said. But I needed someone to hear me. He stayed quiet. They always choose him, I said. I keep wondering what's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you, Mark said. I swallowed. You really think that? I know it, he said. I closed my eyes. For the first time, someone believed me without excuses. I'm done chasing their approval, I said. I want more. Then take it, Mark said. I hung up and stared down the street. Something had shifted. I wasn't fixed. I wasn't healed. But I was done waiting. I walked forward alone and finally on my own side. I stopped explaining myself after that morning. No calls. No updates. No trying to soften my silence. When my phone buzzed with my mother's name, I let it ring. When Dad sent a short message asking if I was still upset, I didn't reply. I wasn't upset anymore. I was tired. At work, I showed up early and stayed late. Not to impress anyone. To stay busy. Mark noticed first. You've been quiet, he said one evening. I'm focused, I said. He nodded. There's an opportunity. I looked up. What kind? The kind you don't talk about, he said. High risk. No credit at first. I hesitated. Why me? Because you work without applause, he said. I felt something tighten, then steady. I'm in. Think about it, Mark said. I have, I said. I don't need anyone else to know. He smiled. Good. Weeks passed. I didn't visit home. No dinners. No excuses. The silence grew heavy, then calm. At work, I learned fast. I failed quietly. I fixed mistakes without announcements. I felt useful in a way that didn't need clapping. Jason texted once. You okay? I typed, deleted, then sent nothing. Mom tried again. We miss you. I stared at the screen. I didn't miss the table. One afternoon, Mark pulled me aside. You're handling this better than most. I don't want it taken away, I said. It won't be, he said. Keep your head down. I did. That's when Emily showed up. Not suddenly. Naturally. She sat across from me in the break room. Is this seat taken? No, I said. She smiled. You always look serious. I'm thinking, I said. Dangerous habit, she said. I laughed once. It surprised me. Over time, we talked. About work. About music. About nothing important. She didn't ask about my family. She didn't compare me to anyone. One day she said, You don't brag. I don't like noise, I said. She nodded. I get that. At home, my parents grew distant. Messages became colder. Shorter. Dad wrote, Call when you're ready. I wasn't. Jason assumed I was sulking. Aunt Carol told Mom I was being dramatic. None of it touched me the way it used to. Distance did something strange. It cleared my head. One night, Emily asked, Are you running from something? No, I said. I stopped running. She smiled softly. Good. At work, Mark handed me a file. This stays between us. I know, I said. People will notice eventually, he said. I don't need them to, I said. He studied me. That's new. It's necessary, I said. I walked home that night without checking my phone. No knots in my chest. No rehearsed speeches. Just steps on pavement and a steady breath. I was still hurt. That didn't disappear. But I wasn't stuck in the same place anymore, waiting for someone to see me. For the first time, I felt control returning. Not over them. Over me. Jason's shine didn't fade all at once. It cracked in small ways, the kind people whispered about. I didn't hear it from him. I heard it at home, through messages I never asked for. Did you hear about Jason? Aunt Carol texted. I didn't reply. Mom called that night. I let it ring twice before answering. Hello. Ethan, she said, careful. How are you? I'm fine. There's talk, she said. About what? I asked. She lowered her voice. Jason's team missed a deadline. I said nothing. They're reviewing his work, she added. Your father thinks it's stress. I pictured Jason's smile slipping. That happens, I said. Mom waited, like she expected more. I didn't give it. At work, my days were changing. Mark walked me into rooms I'd never entered before. Glass walls. Quiet voices. People listened when I spoke. Mr. Thompson sat across from me one morning. You led this? Yes, I said. He nodded. Clean work. No noise. That was the goal, I said. He smiled. I like that. After the meeting, Mark clapped me on the shoulder. You're being noticed. I don't need a spotlight, I said. You're getting one anyway, he replied. Jason texted the next day. Heard you've been busy. I stared at the message. Work's work, I typed. He replied fast. Dad says you're moving up. I'm working, I wrote back. A pause. Then, congrats. It didn't feel real. It felt forced. At dinner that week, my parents talked differently. Not loudly. Carefully. Mr. Thompson asked about you, Dad said. I nodded. He reviews projects. Mom smiled too quickly. We didn't know you were doing so much. I didn't tell you, I said. Dad frowned. Why not? I didn't think it mattered, I said. Silence followed. Jason wasn't there. He said he was busy fixing things. A few days later, Jason called. Can we talk? About what? I asked. Just things, he said. We met for coffee. He looked tired. Less polished. They're watching me now, he said. That happens, I said. He leaned forward. How did you get Thompson's attention? I worked, I said. He laughed sharp. Come on. I worked quietly, I said. He studied me. You changed. I stopped comparing, I said. His jaw tightened. Must be nice. It's calm, I said. Back at the office, Mr. Thompson stopped by my desk. Join us upstairs. I followed him into another room. Another level. Decisions happen there. Later, Mom called again. We're proud of you, she said. I know, I said, though I wasn't sure. Jason's mistakes piled up. Nothing dramatic. Just enough. His charm wore thin. People stopped covering for him. One night he texted, How do you stay so steady? I stared at the screen. I stopped waiting. He didn't reply. I felt no joy. No revenge. Just balance shifting. Karma didn't shout. It nodded. My parents asked me to come over on a Sunday afternoon. The message was careful, polite, like they were talking to someone they didn't fully know anymore. I agreed, not because I owed them, but because I was ready. When I walked in, the house felt smaller. Quieter. Dad stood by the window. Mom sat on the couch, hands folded tight. Thank you for coming, Mom said. I'm here, I said. Dad cleared his throat. We don't understand why you pulled away. I didn't pull away, I said. I stopped reaching. Mom's eyes filled fast. That hurts. So did years of silence, I said. Dad turned. We never meant to hurt you. I know, I said. That's what makes it worse. Mom shook her head. We were proud of you. You didn't show it, I said. Dad frowned. We assumed you knew. I didn't, I said. I learned not to ask. Mom whispered. We thought you were strong. I nodded. That word again. Dad sat down slowly. We leaned on that. You used it, I said. Every time Jason needed more, you gave it. Every time I needed less, you gave nothing. Mom started crying. We didn't see it. I did, I said. Every day. The door opened. Jason walked in tense. What's this? He asked. We're talking, Mom said. Jason looked at me. About what? About why I stopped chasing you, I said. He scoffed. This again. Dad snapped. Enough. Jason froze. I spoke calmly. You always needed proof. I needed permission. Jason crossed his arms. You're exaggerating. I'm done explaining, I said. Mom wiped her face. Ethan, why didn't you tell us sooner? I tried, I said. You were busy clapping. Jason laughed weakly. So what, you're better now? No, I said. I'm free. Dad looked up. Mark mentioned your name at work. I know, I said. You have a new role, Mom said softly. Yes, I said. Jason leaned forward. How high? That doesn't matter, I said. Dad's voice shook. We should have known. You could have, I said. You just didn't look. Mom reached for my hand. I let her touch it. I'm not angry anymore, I said. That's why this is hard. Dad whispered, we missed you. I was right here, I said. Jason stood. This isn't fair. I met his eyes. Neither was growing up invisible. He had nothing to say. Mom said, what do you want from us? I thought for a moment. Nothing. Dad flinched. I don't need apologies, I said. I needed understanding. I found it elsewhere. Mom cried harder. Is it too late? I stood up. For the past, yes. Silence filled the room. Dad nodded slowly. I'm sorry. I know, I said. I walked to the door. No anger. No shaking hands. Ethan, Mom called. I turned. Take care of yourselves. Outside, the air felt light. I walked away without looking back. For the first time, there was no pain. Only peace. The room buzzed with low voices and soft music, the kind meant to sound important. I stood near the back at first, adjusting my jacket, reminding myself to breathe. Emily touched my arm. "You okay?" she asked. "I am," I said. "Just taking it in." She smiled. "You earned this." Mark walked over, calm as always. "They're about to start." "Thanks," I said. He nodded once. That was his version of pride. We took our seats. The lights dimmed slightly. Mr. Thompson stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand. "Tonight," he said, "we recognize work that speaks for itself." My chest tightened. He talked about projects, about discipline, about quiet leadership. I heard pieces of myself in his words, though he never said my name yet. I focused on the floor, afraid to hope too hard. "And finally," he said, "I want to recognize someone who never asked for attention but earned it." I felt Emily's hand squeeze mine. "Ethan Miller," Mr. Thompson said clearly. Applause filled the room. I looked up. My name hung in the air, clean and steady. No comparison. No explanation. Just my name. I stood and walked forward. My legs felt light. The clapping didn't blur. I heard it, but it didn't own me. Mr. Thompson shook my hand. "Well done," he said. "Thank you," I said. I turned to the crowd. Faces smiled. Some nodded. Mark clapped slowly, eyes bright. Emily smiled like she knew this moment already. I spoke briefly. "I didn't do this alone," I said. "But I did it honestly." More applause. As I stepped down, I saw my parents near the side of the room. They weren't front row. They weren't center. They watched quietly. Mom held Dad's arm. Their faces held something like pride mixed with regret. Jason stood beside them, stiff. When our eyes almost met, he looked away. I felt nothing sharp. Just distance. Emily leaned in. "How does it feel?" "Clear," I said. We moved through the room after, people congratulating me. Short conversations. No bragging. No explaining. Mark pulled me aside. "You handled that well." "I learned from you," I said. He smiled. "You learned yourself." Later, I stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. Emily joined me. "You're quiet," she said. "I'm thinking," I said. "Good thoughts?" she asked. "Hard ones," I said. "But finished ones." I thought about what I lost. Years of wanting to be seen. Waiting for a nod. I thought about what I gained instead. Control. Calm. A sense of self that didn't shake when the room changed. My parents approached slowly. "Ethan," Mom said. I turned. "Hi. We're proud of you," Dad said. "I know," I said. There was nothing else to say. No anger. No hunger for more. They stepped back, understanding something had closed. Jason stayed where he was. Emily touched my hand again. "Ready to go?" "Yes," I said. We walked toward the exit. The noise faded behind us. Outside, the night air felt open. As we reached the door, I glanced back once. Not to check who watched. Just to mark the moment. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need apologies. The hardest victory wasn't standing on that stage. It was learning my worth never depended on their applause. I stepped outside, my name still echoing in my head, and walked forward knowing exactly who I was.